Welcome back to another episode of the High Vibration Reset. I'm your host, Ciara Conlon. My guest today is Sinead Duffy. Sinead is founder of Yogandha Wellbeing Oils and a coach who specializes in peri and menopause for women. She helps women to transform the way they relate to their bodies so that instead of seeing menopause symptoms as things that we need to manage or suppress, we learn how to read them as messages from the body about what needs attention, expression, nourishment, or change. And doing this, she says, helps us into a deeper calm, clarity, and confidence. So let's get straight into today's episode. Sinead, you're very welcome to the High Vibration Reset.
Thank you for having
And
me.
it's great to catch up with you again. It's been far too many years since we met in person, but
Yeah.
excited to hear today about all the things that have been happening with you and your business. So why don't you start us off with just giving us a bit of background?
Sure. Well, I'm Sinead and I have been in wellness since the 90s, so quite a long time now, since before it was even a thing actually. But more in the end of sort of mindfulness and meditation, that kind of end. And from that, I created Yogandha, which is my lovely range of oils that are very much to be used as daily wellness little vehicles. And then what I think I was always kind of chasing was the feeling of being present, coming into the body, coming back to ourselves as elements of nature. And that's what they do. And then when I came into perimenopause, I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? One thing that we're not really told is that it's not just a shift in hormones, it's a deep shift in consciousness and how you feel. And it's a deep pull to the body, which is a mess, but also a kind of a very beautiful invitation. So that's what I do now, is to support women to experience this massive full body threshold as a call to the body and the healing, the deep self-healing that can bring.
Fabulous. And you still run the company with Sinead's oils are absolutely fabulous. I have used them a lot myself, and that's still very much part of what you do.
Very much so. They've all, because they came from the same work. So they are, when I started doing I've always been doing the coaching, but then, I did kind of wonder how they'd sit together, but they're just threaded into it. So when I work with women now, we use oils always, because they usually, when I do my one-on-one work, I will put on an oil and they'll put on the same oil, and they're kind of like plant journeys. Now, usually plant journeys mean like ayahuasca and these big psychotropic weekend long things. But these are tiny little plant journeys where you just go into the body and you feel like this one's full of jasmine and clary sage. And they're these beautiful so it's all about coming back into your body and letting nature support you and guide you and guide you towards your own intuition, which is so strong anyway, because our own hormones and plant chemicals are extremely similar. So it's about that lovely coming together and feeling it. So yeah, the oils are very much central part of it. And they just go together so well.
So tell us more about that, because I love the story of how you came up with each one of them. So explain, how that business came about, first of all, for you.
Yeah, well, I was wanted to go to India to do my teacher training in yoga. And then when I went there, when I was on my way there, I wanted to bring some self-care stuff, some very basic self-care, like a medical kit, basically. But when each with Western medicine, of course, I brought Western medicine as well, but it tends to be one thing does one thing, does that thing very well, but it only does one thing. So it's quite an expansive amount you got to bring. Whereas with nature, it's so efficient. One herb will do 17 things. So it's very handy. So I brought my essential oils with me to India when I was doing my doing my teacher training course. And when I was there, I did Vipassana, which is a very deep meditation. And when I smelt my oils or not my oils, but just the oils I'd brought with me, in the Vipassana. I was like, whoa, this is, you can feel how they're like a backstage pass to embodiment, to the kind of more meditative mind, to our intuition, to our deepest sense of self. So that's where they came from. I came back from doing my teacher training. I spent 3 years sitting cross-legged, holding the intentions of my students, my yoga and mindfulness students, and blending with holding those intentions. So they're very deep, very effective, very lovely, and they really it does what it says in the bottle. So each of them are very like ground, balance, salute. Each one does a specific thing that we need in our wellness journey, or just kind of well-being. The three little ones are about putting on when you're on the go. So this one's all jasmine-y and just beautiful. And then the big
Tell us
ones are about like,
what each one is and what it's good for.
yeah. So the three little ones are ground, which is grounding. Sandalwood, cedarwood, frankincense, myrrh, all these really ground that have been used to ground us for at least 6,000 years, probably longer, but documented history at least 6,000 years, because they just work. And I love the way, even if you're super skeptical, you're like, you can't help but feel it, because smell is the only sense that bypasses the thinking, skeptical mind, takes you straight into the feeling. So that's why they're so effective. And no matter how much of a busy mind you have, they'll bring you there. And that's why every meditative tradition ever recorded has used smell. And interestingly, at times of hormonal shift, our sense of smell gets stronger for this reason, because you're being called to use that. So ground is grounding, balance is balancing, and that's this one, hormonally balancing, particularly full of these beautiful, like jasmine and cypress and clary sage, all of which are what do you call it, aphrodisiacs, which I didn't mean to do. It was only after I created them, because I didn't create them as in like go to my books and study. It was all purely embodied. And then only afterwards, like the 7 essential oils in there, they're all aphrodisiacs. One is coriander. It's like, there's no way coriander is an aphrodisiac. Check the book, aphrodisiac. And it's because they're all hormonally balancing, yin and yang. And, Mother Nature is all about getting it on, basically.
So was that an intuitive name then, Salute?
Salute. So yeah, salute is the uplifting one. That's the sunny.
Oh,
little
that's not
kind of,
the aphrodisiac one.
no, this is
Sorry, my
balance.
mind was going to bad places there. So the balance one is the aphrodisiac one. Yes,
The
I
balance
have
is the aphrodisiac, because it
used
balances the
that one.
male and the female. It balances everything, basically. So that's the one that, this morning before I came on, I was like, and always I really believe the one that you put your hand on is the one that you're supposed to have, because your intuition but the one you happen to find is always like, okay, that's the right one. So this is the one for today. But Salute is my little uppy one, which is probably my most popular, because most people, they feel they need an up. Usually they need more of a calm. But the thing about Salute is that it's incredible in that it has an uplifting anti-anxiety property. So the Salute is uplifting, but also anti-anxiety, which is really rare. Coffee, uplifting, not good for the nerves. Chocolate, sugar, Jägermeister, all these things that are uplifting are generally not good for the nerves, but it's full of bergamot, which is uplifting and strongly anti-anxiety. So they're the three little ones. They're kind of about mood management. So there's an up, a calm down, and a balance. And then the body oils are for all over, muscle soothe, detox, which just supports the liver and kidneys to let go. Good for lymphatic drainage, but just good for, I love people to use them in the shower, because having taught for so long, if I ask people to do things, I know they're not going to do them. If it takes any extra work, no, nobody has time. So women will often say, should I do this after the shower? And I'm like, no, because you won't. So take it into the shower, turn on the taps. I love, like, I've one, but I obviously have all three beside me in the shower. I get into the shower, turn on the taps, and I just let my body feel, right, what do I need? Do I need that clearing that detox will give me? Do I need the muscle soothing, gingery warming? Or do I need the relaxed, the soothing, calming, relax? And I just let my hand move, put it on all over as if it was a shower gel, because shower gel is obviously awful stuff. Shower gel is so drying. Water is so drying. That's why everybody's skin is pretty chronically dry. But if you use oil in the shower, because it's antibacterial, antimicrobial, antifungal, antispasmodic, anticarinal, all the antis, and so it cleanses but nourishes the skin, and so you stop the dryiness of the shower gel or soap or whatever, but you also stop the dryiness of the water, because the water can't strip your natural oils if you've got oil on you. So that's a little hack.
Very
And
interesting. I do put it on after the shower because I
oh,
have
yeah.
very dry skin, but actually, and I know you have said that use it in the shower, but now I understand why. So there isn't that need for soap. But obviously, you wouldn't be putting on it on the intimate parts of your body.
I sure do. I will put nothing else on the intimate parts of
Oh,
my
wow.
body. Never touch soap on the intimate parts of the body. Soap, maybe underarms, if needed, but intimate, nothing but oil. Because that skin dries like all skin. I mean, skin is one organ, but the intimate parts, oil, 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 oil.
And any of those oils, none of
Yeah, yeah,
them you
yeah,
need
the
to be
big
special
ones.
about her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Particularly, well, any of them. They're all 100%
Yeah.
natural, beautiful oils. So yeah.
Fabulous. Fabulous. So there's so much there. I love everything you've said there in terms of, and I love that story, as I said, about how they were created. They were created from your intuition. They were, it was that real lived sense of what's needed here. And using them for that grounding element, for the, feeling that anxiety, it can assist in helping us to kind of come into ourselves and calm
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
And that's something, Sinead, that I have experienced but hadn't realized. I just thought it was, probably thought it was the menopause or part of getting older. But my sense of smell is incredible, and incredible, not so much in a good way. I have to walk through the airport with a scarf over my face or my jumper up. Otherwise, the perfumes will trigger a migraine. Is that something that is going to go away again after the menopause? Or is that something now that's just happening with the
Yeah.
change in the body?
Yeah. No, it will calm down. It will calm down. I'm sure that it will calm down. I mean, there's no guarantees, but like perimenopause, I always call it like it's like a snow globe. It's like everything is shaking and it's a lot, an awful lot, but the energy does calm down. But I'm all about like, don't miss this, because yes, it's hard, but it is a an opportunity also, so that when things do settle, they settle in the way that you've used all that intuition, because that's intuition. And we are intrinsically sensitive to everything around us. And that's your body screaming at you, toxins everywhere. That's what it is. I mean, if you're walking through a rose garden, that would be bliss, but you're not. Duty free is pretty full on in terms of people spraying you. It's awful because it's so full of chemicals. So that is really hard. But what I'm all about really is that we're trained to perceive sensitivity as a negative. And yes, it's a lot. It's an awful lot, but it's definitely not a negative. It's just something uh, I don't want to say manage, because that's a very colonial attitude to the body, but ideally, that we can find a way to say, okay, I feel this sensitivity, and it matters, because it does matter. It's really important. Menopause isn't a glitch or a body mistake. It's very much an evolutionary decision of our species. It's an important learning that's happening here. That sensitivity, I feel, that kicks in is important. So what is that saying? That is saying that, yeah, there's way too many toxins in your environment, in duty free, in all of our environments. So it's hard, but it may merit a strongly worded letter to the paper going, please stop spraying me with stuff, because this is toxins and my body's saying this very clearly. And that embodied message is really important, that we all hear it.
It's really interesting because it is something that I find quite difficult, because with friends or family members, the perfumes that are on the market at the moment are extremely strong. They hang in the air. Even I've played tennis with people in the court beside, and I can smell the perfume. And, one out of that, you're saying that that's toxic for the body. which I don't think people realize when they're spraying these perfumes on. But on the other side, interesting that as we go through perimenopause and menopause, that our body is becoming more sensitive to the things that aren't good for us. Alcohol, all of the external or foods, we seem to become more intolerant of different foods.
Absolutely.
So is that part of the wisdom that we are gathering?
I know, it's so annoying, isn't it? It's so annoying. But it is. It's like the body is just like right now, and but when you perceive it as that, it does shift. It's like the body is now saying, right. I call it the years that we're cycling, the years that we're bleeding, the fertility haze, because we're in this fertility. We're in this time of like fertility is all that matters. It's all that matters during those years because the species is all about continuation. So all we care about is well, various things. The estrogen like rises up so that we're very relational, we're very more attractive, we're very more attracted to others, and also we put up with an awful lot because our we're keeping the clan together. That's what the fertility haze is all about. When the estrogen goes, the fertility hormones go, we're told that that's a biological glitch. I don't believe that. I believe that's about the body going, okay, you've done that now, whether you chose to have kids or whether that happened for you or whether it didn't. That's now over. Now it's about turning inward. What do I want to do? And that's not all I in the individualistic sense that the wellness industry has really got very individualistic. It's not about that because when we turn inward, naturally, we're more sensitive to our environment as you're feeling. So it's not an I, it's more of a, okay, what does me and in relation to my environment need now? Which is annoyingly less booze, more healthy food, all that stuff. But it is. But I do feel you can still have a bit of fun. You definitely, and it also invites more presence, which means that you do enjoy things more. There's more presence in the body. Which is really what it's all about. So that is more enjoyable. But yeah, it is a call inward. And what's very annoying is that uh, the philosopher spoke about this like thousands of years ago. The expression flourishing that you might have heard is is about when you're in your mid-40s and your attention naturally goes from outwards and serving to moving inward and a bit more about introspection and self-actualization and all these glorious things, which is hormonally exactly what's happening. But that's a boy sport. women. So, and the philosophers only talk about it for men. Back in the day, the Plato and those boys. And now we're told, no, you're sick. You need to fix yourself because we've been so used to serving that when we do start to turn inward and say, well, what do I want? And with the rage that comes, that genuine rage, which is the sensitivity to what the fuck? What have we done? What have I been carrying so much for so long? What have we done to the planet? Because we're we're all intrinsically sensitive to the welfare of the planet, but women very much so, and very much so at this time. And that's an awful lot. But that's where the rage comes from. But it's important. We don't want to suppress that. We want to learn to ground it and channel it into a way that actually does, do its job, which is species survival and our own self-actualization. We're allowed to do that too.
I've heard estrogen described as the give a shit hormone. So as it starts to drop, we stop giving a shit about what people think of us, what I should be doing, all the things that society, and we start, as you say, going inward. What do I want? I think that's why there's a lot more divorce at that age. Kids are grown up, and
Yeah.
is this what I want?
Yeah.
So people start to become, and I think, yeah, there's a danger in saying selfish to turn inward and say, what do I want? And I think we're conditioned to think that that's selfish. But actually, what the teaching tells us is that we have to focus on coming in, embodying, understanding ourselves so that we can then go out in the world in a better way.
Yeah. Yeah. And in a
So,
more embodied way with that intuitive wisdom that becomes so much more available at this time.
You said there, it's about being present, but you also call yourself a consciousness coach. So it's about becoming conscious
Yeah.
of what you need yourself. Talk to me a bit
Yeah.
more about that.
Yeah, with consciousness, I mean, it's such a huge word, but really, consciousness and presence, they're kind of the same thing. It's about being aware of where you're moving from, because we are totally conditioned to move from our heads, to think with our heads. When we're fearful, we retreat to our heads, and override the body. Which is just, we know how harmful that is for long term well being. So to just be aware of where the consciousness is and drop it into the body, because perimenopause is a pull to the body. That's what it is. And so when we allow our consciousness to drop into the body, it's just, it feels so physical, and so physically, like when I'm working with women, it's like when I meet them, it's like they're physically swimming the wrong direction, swimming upstream. Head. I'm like, your perimenopause is pulling you to your body. And I know that's a lot, because we're carrying so much. We've suppressed so much. There's been so much paused while we have to do all we have to do. And then there's the whole intergenerational trauma, basically, that we're carrying. But what women are not told, and what is blowing me away, is that the power that women have to move, when they make this shift from "get me up here, I don't know what's going on," to "oof, okay, oh, okay, so this is what's going on." Oof, downstream. It's like the feeling of um it's a little bit, when, I don't know, not I think most women feel it when you're pregnant. You have this, I used to call it, you don't know where your car keys are, but you know everything. You know, this wisdom, that calm. And wisdom, again, sounds like, "Oh, what am I going to do with that?" But it's very practical. It's like, no, this is for me now. Or no, not having any of that, actually. And often, usually our bodies have this wisdom, but we're so trained to suppress it. But in perimenopause, it just hollers. Um, and it is a lot, but honestly, the speed with which women are going, because I've been working in this kind of consciousness area for so long, what really excites me is that women who have never done anything in this area before, I'm working with women in all different areas, and they've never, like, "What are you talking about?" And then, they work with me, first week, second week, definitely by week 3, they're like talking differently, their timbre is different, and then, and one woman I was working with, on week 2, she must have said the word easy about 7 times. And I was like, yeah, right. Because it's just, this is what that's about the unlearning. We've been trained to be in one way for so long. But coming into the body, it's just easier, and more blissful, more present, more, actually feeling, and yeah, present with where we are.
So, Sinead, does it mean slowing down, or can we still become embodied and present and still move at the pace that life expects us to move nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, definitely slowing down is very welcome. But what I love is that, again, it sounds esoteric, but it's super practical. Time isn't real anyway. So when you work with plant consciousness, plant oils, they'll just get into that moment, wherever, whatever. And a lot of it happens when you're busy doing other things. So, like, I remember one time I was working with ground to on a very specific intention of spine and with my spine. And I remember driving the kids to school, stopping off to pick up lunch, because we'd fucking hadn't had time to pick up lunch, and pulling in. I was literally like, hanging out the window, shouting at the kids, "Don't forget to get something." And I just, as I did that, I got a waft of ground, which is sandalwood, cedarwood, frankincense, myrrh. And my spine just did this thing when I was barking at the kids. And I was like, wow. It's like they get in there. They're like, "Quick, she's busy." Talk to the muscles, get them to do what we know she's told us she wants to do, because it's all subconscious. So a lot of it, and most of my practice now happens at night, which is really handy. I do practices before I go to sleep at night, dropping into the body, specifically the pelvic bowl. And then so much happens at night, and you wake up with these intuitions that are all there just waiting for us. So yes, slowing down, absolutely. But beautifully, when you work in this way, it'll just splice into what you're doing anyway.
Sounds fabulous and so easy, as you said.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. It really is. And it's not about mind shift. It is to a point, but it's embodiment. It's about an embodied shift.
The embodiment kind of bypasses the need. We need to change our mindset to agree to embody in
Yeah,
some
but
sense.
what I love with women is that you can, even with the skeptical, you go, okay, well, when I'm teaching, I honestly don't care, what people think or understand or believe. What I care about is what they feel. And if women will feel differently, that's all that matters, that they will feel differently, because then they will make the embodied decisions. It's all about getting them to feel that and then making the decisions out of that place with more confidence, that this, well, I feel this, so it's fucking right, because I feel 'cause it's my pelvic bowl talking to me, or my womb, or wherever you perceive, that embodied consciousness is coming from. That and then you kind of talk differently, you move differently, you emit different things, that your smell is different, which is, I think, so magic. And that's how I hope it will ripple out, to other women, that they will just feel, you'll be carrying that embodied consciousness, that just, well, I'm making these decisions from a different place, not from a fear-based place that we're utterly surrounded by. And it is important to be aware that we're utterly surrounded by this fear-based narrative, that we are declining, we are coming into irrelevance, that we are sick, that the body is the enemy, that your symptoms are a problem to manage. Symptoms are a pain in the ass, but they are your body talking to you. That's what they are. And if they're shouting at you, which they generally are, it means that the body's turned that up to 11. The body was talking to you more quietly earlier. And so a lot of the work I do with women is just learning to read those signals. First of all, appreciating them as signals, and then learning to hear them earlier, so that body doesn't have to turn them up to 11 when it can be utterly overwhelming. But we can hear them earlier, and that's all. The body never wastes energy. So the body doesn't want to turn that up to 11, so if we can hear them earlier, then we can. It's really, for me, it's a lot like learning to surf the hormonal kind of wave, learning to surf. So the waves don't get really huge and overwhelming. If we can learn to surf them with smaller waves, then you can make those small micro decisions, because it's not about 1 week away. Of course, a week away is fabulous, but it's not about any one big thing. It's always about the micro decisions that we make. So yeah, it's about that.
So, what are your thoughts on HRT?
So HRT, so it's hormonal replacement therapy. I don't love the word replacement, because it has signifies that the body has made a mistake. And I don't believe that the body has made a mistake. Now, the conditions under which we're having this massive threshold are awful. So, sometimes for women, it's really, they need it just to get through. But I would like just the perception around it to change, that it's not that the body has made a mistake. It's so we need to replace something. I don't believe that. I believe that this is an important transformation, that it can be a beautiful transformation. Yes, it's hard. It's really hard. Like natural childbirth. It's so hard. Any childbirth is hard, but um, to have that experience is also incredibly beautiful and incredibly empowering, and it's quite similar to that. So the perception of it to change, and to experience it as the with support. We need support. We need a more positive narrative around it, and we need really a community of women who can shift the narrative around this, and the embodied experience, so that women can experience as you know the unfolding into what we're not told, which is that it can be about coming into more embodied confidence, that I don't give a shit, and actually I feel really strongly that this is the right way, and so therefore it is the right way. More clarity and intuitive clarity, which is much more powerful, and confidence, embodied confidence. So if the narrative shifts, I think that would be a great step forward. In a way, I feel that HRT is a little bit like stabilizers on the bike. Like cycling is hard, and everything is cyclical, and the body going through this massive, massive shift is hard. But, some women, they need those stabilizers for a while because it's just too much. And I understand that. But, in a way, it would be good just even to value the freewheeling, the cycling, and to be a little bit excited and a little bit kind of conscious of, well, am I missing something out here from the natural menopause? Is there something that's interesting in my own hormonal consciousness? Because there just is. So, and around everything, around all aspects, around well-being, but also around sex. The body's asking for a different kind of sex now. So what is that? Let's explore that. Just that in itself. It's hard because your libido goes, you don't feel like, and so many women tell me, I think I'll never have sex again, actually. And I'm okay with that. I'm like, yeah, okay. But, we do have a clitoris, it does get smaller, but, it doesn't if you use it. So if you keep valuing it, and so libido does drop completely, but it does come back, but it comes back asking for different things. That in itself is really interesting. And with all areas of our lives, creativity, so the creativity that kicks in now is so huge. And there's, this isn't what I'm speaking about. It sounds very counter narrative, and it is counter narrative, but it's only counter our Western narrative. In the East, they have a whole, this is the way they talk about menopause as a rebirth. So they have a very specific clarity on what happens, that all the cycling years, all the years that we're bleeding, we lose all that chi, all that blood, all that, and that's all our creativity is going to, build babies, or at least potentially build babies. Now that energy is recircling in the body. So the creativity that is born at this time, and it's a proper, punk ass, don't give a shit, badass creativity. So that, I feel, is something you can miss, if you're hormonally recalibrating your hormones. So there is so much to value in the hormonal recalibration. It is not easy, but with the right support, it's the most exciting thing, I feel.
It sounds very exciting when you say it like that. But it's important as well, I suppose. We're so conditioned to, we have a symptom, we take a pill, we take some medicine. So, I think a lot of the time with HRT or with medicine, we're hiding what's really going on. We're not becoming conscious of what the body is saying or what the body is asking of us. So it's important to really understand that, yeah, we can't just take medicine and continue to do all the things that are not good for us and not right for us and expect to feel okay or expect to get the most out of this phase of life, really.
Yeah, yeah, and of course the big worry is that you're kicking it off down the line. If the body's communicating to you, that matters. It just matters. You can't. And to hear it is surely the best long-term solution. And it is hard, especially when it's like sleep disruption. Some women say, I went on HRT because I haven't slept in 7 years. That is the reality of women. So, but just to know the body never wastes energy. If the body is waking you up, there is something that it wants you to hear. And it's the wisdom of the body. Like when you hear it, your sleep will recalibrate. It will come back, and it really quickly, potentially. There's not that like it's a, there's no quick fix here, but just know that the body is just waiting for you to hear. And when you do hear and make minor adjustments, which maybe I do feel deep work is needed, but it's not like, it's not, I think, it's not always therapy. Therapy might help, but it has to be an embodied thing. And often just some deep work around witnessing something, because some of the wake ups are this intergenerational stuff. And women I work with will sometimes have dreams, funky dreams for a little while. And then, what we do is just kind of go, okay, well, we don't have to know what that means, but we'll honor that, whatever that is. And then maybe something will release, and then I'll feel it, then I'll sleep again. Or it could be around rhythm. Often it's around rhythm, because often it's quite a specific 3:17 a.m. wake up, so often it's calling for a new rhythm. So rather than suppress, drop into what is that
Yeah.
rhythm, what
Yeah.
is being asked for in the body. And again, sometimes it's really simple stuff around insulin, because we do tend to really silo, the hormones. Let's work on these guys. We'll just ignore these guys. You can't do that. It's a whole symphony. And usually the symphony is an absolute clash, bang, cacophony initially. but it's just waiting to come in. But you can't just work on these guys. These guys, they all work together. So often with little tweaks in the other hormones or around the rhythm of the day, of when you eat, of all that rhythm that's very intuitive again. And the intuition will kick in, and then the sleep will recalibrate.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because we're so conditioned to think that, that is just what's happening to us now, and that life is so busy. And, either go on HRT that'll help your sleep, which great, it does for a lot of people, or take a sleeping tablet. There's no conversation about, you know, what are you eating during the day? What time are you eating? Are you drinking too much coffee? All of these things that is just part of life, and we just continue to do it unconsciously because
Yeah,
everybody else is doing the
yeah,
same things. Everybody else has bad habits around eating and drinking and all of these things we don't want to become conscious of because it
yeah,
means we should change our habits. We don't really want
yeah,
to change our habits
yeah,
because we don't have the energy to
yeah.
change or to, think about a better diet.
Yeah,
But
it's
if we
true.
can just
Energy is an interesting one. Energy is an interesting one because no energy is the biggest thing I hear in women. But energy, the body has energy, but so much of that energy is being diverted or used to suppress stuff, to manage, to basically, let us keep on going with what we're doing. But the energy is available, but symptoms are energy. They're pure energy. So there is, always, as long as you're alive, there is energy to work with. And when you, it's again like that rivery thing, once you start working in flow with the body, there's the energy. You're now in flow. You're now moving with the river. There's your energy, and it's also super empowering because a lot of it's just about bringing authority back into your own skin, which is, you know, empowering and also like a little bit addictive, in a good way, because you're like, instead of outsourcing and saying, I want to keep doing what I'm doing and looking externally for the answers, when you bring it back in and go, well, when I do this tiny little shift, then I can feel my energy getting a little bit stronger. I can feel my intuition speaking to me a little bit more clearly, because it will speak quite clearly. I can feel I've set my boundaries in a way that serves me better. My relationships have, maybe got rid of some toxic relationships. You're making those intuitive decisions. You're just happier because there's an alignment that currently women are not feeling. There's so much out of alignment with the way we're living, of course, living in a patriarchal society. But when you take that back and start living in more alignment with your hormonal consciousness, with your intuition, then that's happiness. I feel anyway, living in alignment is happiness.
we blame too much the external circumstances. So as you say, yes, we're living in a patriarchal society. There's so much outside of our control, but what is in our control is how we live in this body. We can choose what we put into it. We can choose how we behave within it. We can choose what to feel and
Yeah,
what not to feel. And that's
yeah,
a lot of, as you say, the energy is going to just keeping it together, just getting through
yeah.
the day. I just have to, just have to.
Hmm. Yeah,
Whereas if we can pause long enough to kind of just feel what's going on in the body, that can help us to become more conscious and make better decisions about what the body needs.
yeah, yeah. And having the courage to take the rest that we need. And losing the shame. There's so much, we're riddled with shame. It's just been plowed into us for so long, intergenerationally. Um, and what's happening now is feminine consciousness, which has just been shamed forever, and cultures for at least 4 or 5 thousand years. So that's a lot, a lot we're carrying. But it can shift quickly because what I'm doing. I call myself a teacher in a way, but really I'm more of a guide, because I'm just guiding you back to what your body's already holding anyway. And that's why shifts can happen so fast, because everything that I'm teaching, your body already knows. So that's all held there. So there is a bit of work to be done to ditch the shame, but all this consciousness is held in the body, this knowing. And but yeah, sort of taking it back and having the bravery to go, no, I need rest now, or I need whatever you need, those embodied needs that will be communicated to you, following them, listening them, doing them.
You say the word teacher, it reminds me of probably my first very aware, intuitive message was when I first studied coaching. And one of the guides on the program brought us through a short meditation. I wasn't a meditator before then. And the meditation was, who am I? And the moment I asked that question, the first time I, dropped into my body and who am I? A swinging beam came from over my right hand side and swung I almost felt like I had to duck out of the way, and there was this big wooden beam and written on it was teacher. And since then, sometimes we think, oh, that's an interesting experience, or we brush it aside as your mind doing it. But since then, my intuition very often comes. If it's not an embodied sense, a message will come to me like that. It'll hit
Yeah,
me at the side of the
yeah,
face. And almost it feels like somebody is going, wake up. This is what you need. Um, so, our intuition can come in many different ways. And I've spoken about this with many people on the podcast because it's an area that I think is so important for us to get in touch with. Because as you said at the beginning, it empowers us to know. And when we have that knowing, all the stuckness, all the problems, all the issues, well, not all of them, but a lot can just become easier.
yeah,
There's that going downstream part of it.
yeah.
Sinead, you also work with the Celtic wheel and you use your oils with that. So
Hmm.
tell us more about how that can help us.
Yeah. Well, it's again, you feel it quite physically that at different times of the year, your body is naturally nudging you towards certain aspects of well-being. So, often people will January 1st do that, resolutions and stuff. But I mean, nature, you look at January 1st, nature's not thinking those thoughts, and we are elements of nature. So it tends to be the best time to do that kind of release or, intention setting is more around when you feel, not even when you look at, not when you look at the calendar, but when you first feel that first glint of light, which is more like around St. Bridget's Day, because that's also because that's the part of the Celtic wheel. So my oils, and when I was creating them in these 3 years of embodied consciousness, I didn't even really feel that about them. They were just totally intentionally based. Um, but then when I was looking at them afterwards, and the same even with the colors, like the first three chakras, the red, the orangish, and the yellows, the first three chakras, and again, not intentional, but it's like, okay, oh wow, first they align with the first three chakras, and the same of like, oh, they completely fall in alignment with the Celtic wheel, because that's when you're working intuitively. That's always the way it works. So it's absolutely beautiful. So I kind of detox, which is my zesty letting go one. I use that to teach people January 1st isn't the time to be thinking those detox letting go, and that's what's looking forward time. It's more around St. Bridget's Day, and or you're not even that exact Feb 1st or Feb 3rd or that day, but when your body notices that little bit of light, that's the time to reach for detox. So each one falls into alignment with the calendar, with the seasonal calendar, or in this part of the world, it's the Celtic wheel. So it's just a beautiful way to use them. So at this time of year, it's relax, because relax is very relaxing, as it says, but also it's full of blue chamomile, which is very cooling. So we're getting hot days these days, so it's very cooling in the body. So all of the herbs do exactly what the earth is nudging you towards at this time of year. So to use them in alignment with the Celtic wheel is a beautiful way to use them. And again, it's again like kind of moving in the downstream way, because it's just easier. It's the way the earth is literally nudging you towards. It's what all of nature is doing. So that's the time to use them in that way, with that intentionality of, well, this is it's going to be easier, at this time of year. So yeah, I love women to use them in that way, because it's, again, it's just in alignment, in flow.
But you can also use them as your body calls at what time, if you need grounding, if you need, obviously,
Ex-
few of us are in alignment with the seasonal calendar.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's
so
just a nice little extra, really. And of course, sandalwood is a good time at any time of the year. Jasmine is beautiful at any time of the year, but it's just a nice little extra, especially when you kind of use it with intentionality, or just, if you're kind of overwhelmed, where do I get started with the whole well-being journey? It can be like, well, what time of year it is? It's summer. Okay, what do I need to do in summer? Kick back, kick back a little bit, relax. So then relax is good for that. And then later on in the year, to you can see them. I have them on my website all plotted along, and just to use that oil. And if you only use that oil at that time of year, again, it's totally subconscious. So if you use that oil at that time of the year, you'll naturally be pulled into easier well-being without doing anything extra. So that's kind of handy, like, of course, by all means, do extra stuff, whatever it is. And they're lovely to align with if you do yoga, if you do Pilates, if you do Tai Chi, if you do anything, to use them with that, because it has a real synergistic effect. All of those traditions, most of those traditions have used smell. So um it'll ground that a bit, and it'll bring it into your week. So that was a huge part of when I was creating the oils. So yogandha, I put together yoga with gandha. Gandha means fragrance, and using fragrance for mind, body well-being. So to use them in your practice, but then use them at other times, because it brings you back to that embodied consciousness that you have during your practice. So it brings you back. So that's just it's an easy way to bring it back, bring your practice into your week.
you've talked about unlearning patriarchy. So what does that exactly mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big one, because it is so, it's so much part of us, and it's so much part of the way we think. So patriarchy is just a very, and it's not even, I don't even like to genderize it a little bit, but it's more really around the patriarchy values the head-based thinking, and the rational, the analytic, which analytic literally means to divide. So the mind-body divide is a huge part of it. Whereas, and also our perception of strength is very patriarchal, which is like strong, strong, which is, you're a machine is a good thing, and you're sensitive is a bad thing. This is not serving us. So a more matriarchal thinking is much more embodied. More strength is sensitivity, and sensitivity is strength. Total redefinition of strength. More embodied, more intuitive, valuing, letting the cerebral mind yield to the embodied consciousness, to the body-based thinking. So that's really what it is. And just listening out for it internally, how much of our thinking is, how much we play down and apologize for how we feel. And yeah, just all those things that make us intrinsically that feminine consciousness. So to unlearn that is really important, just to have this embodied mind shift, so that we can start valuing what is actually valuable for our bodies and our planets. So it's
Amazing.
necessary, and it's also very empowering, and it's much more joyous, because that analytic existence, that sort of mind body divide, isn't serving us, and we feel so lost, so disconnected. Whereas when we come back to connection with the body, it's just a more joyous and healthy existence.
I heard a very good description recently that the masculine is doing and achieving, and the feminine is being.
Yeah, exactly. And perimenopause and menopause are a pull to being, which is quite, it's the most beautiful invitation, because being is everything. Doing is busy, 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 and of course we still have to do our stuff, but being is everything. It's being in the moment, especially as we get older and time literally speeds up. It's kind of scary. So you want to get more being in there, you want to get all the being you can. So yeah, being is being is where it's at, and that's why smell is so, and and body consciousness are so important, so we can actually be, and we want to be here for our kids, if we have kids, to enjoy these moments,
What is Punk Your Peri?
Punk Your Peri. So Punk Your Peri is my workshop, so it's my online workshop. I wanted to call it something that makes it really clear that this is a very different narrative. So perimenopause, it's it's not a menopause, not a decline. This perimenopause is like this snow globe shaking. It's this second puberty. It's kind of chaotic, kind of crazy, and that's okay. It's also a massive identity shift. And which is freaky, but that's okay. So if you go a little bit rogue, that's okay. That's what is this time is all about. So the workshop itself is very much around reframing perimenopause as a threshold into more embodied consciousness, into an understanding that symptoms aren't invading enemies. They are signals from the body that matter, and that with the right support, we can experience this threshold as what every other culture bar us have held it to be, which is an unfolding into deeper confidence and clarity, and more beautiful, more being. So Punk Your Peri is my workshop. It's short. It's specifically short so that women can do it over a weekend or even in an afternoon, but it's a very different perspective on perimenopause, which I think, often I get such beautiful emails afterwards when women do it, because it's online, so you can just do it anytime. Of like, wow, you've totally blown away what I've been thinking. But also I'm trying to, I'm speaking specifically to their bodies. So I do invite women to do it in a relaxed way, kind of half listening to me, maybe with some oils on, so they can be in this kind of more less cerebral, thinky, must learn and make notes, more like, okay, talk to my body, and feel it in that way. So we do, yeah, on that I do, my intention is to absolutely transform your perception and embodied perception of this transformation that is perimenopause. Not saying it's easy, never going to say it's easy, but it's important, and it can be a beautiful transformation with the right support.
And you do a deeper, longer program as well, yeah?
Yeah. So I have another program which I call Fire Starter. So because it's quite elemental, fire plays a massive role. The whole heat thing plays quite a big role in this transformation, which is very interesting to explore. So, but Fire Starter it's a 28-day program. It's I make sure that every day is short. It's sort of around 20-minute practice. It's over the 4 weeks. It's 4 days of these deep embodiment practices, and then 3 days integration, bit of a breather. And the 4 weeks are specifically, so I have an FIRE structure or container. So F is around freedom, and it's all around, like, other cultures have always perceived that this is a transformation, a threshold into more freedom. We're never, we don't have that brochure. We're not offered, it's not on the menu. But, when you unlearn patriarchy and perceive it as, okay, the estrogen drop, maybe it's about me not giving a shit and moving differently and having a different relationship with the symptoms, not as in I have to work harder to manage and suppress and do all that. But actually, this is inviting me to more downstream, moving in a downstream way, and there's more freedom available here. So week 1 is all about really an embodied transformation, and that to perceive it as a time of moving into more freedom, which literally every other culture has perceived it to be. The I is identity. We do a lot on archetypes, because archetypes are really interesting. Gabor Mate talks a lot about this, how different conditions and different menopause symptoms will emerge based on your archetype, based on the role you've been playing in your life. And he calls those adaptations that we develop quite early in life to adapt to our environment, to keep getting the love. And that's fine. They're super important. We never judge those. But now is an invitation to go, right, what are we going to do about those now? Who have I been up to now, and who am I going to be going forward? And, I don't laugh. It really annoys me actually when you see so much perimenopause and menopause advertising or, calling, let's get you back to you again. Not feeling like yourself, then you're going to want to, let's get back to how you were. No, it's called the change. That's what it is. So that identity piece is really important. And again, it can happen really quickly when women do some practices around who, and again, has to be embodied. Who have I been up to now? Where is my body communicating to me that actually kind of done with that now? Because the body is always telling you, jaw or, wherever it kicks in. So I is identity piece. R, so FIRE, R is rhythm. Rhythm plays a huge part in this. And it's again, a little bit like the whole cycle, we're very kind of, when the bleed stops or the bleed gets longer or shorter, the whole cycle starts shifting. You're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's very discombobulating. So we come back into a more, a rhythm, a nature-based rhythm, and that gives us the rhythm that we need, and then everything becomes a whole lot easier. But it's not a one-size-fits-all, so it's got to be right, what is the rhythm that my body is calling me towards? So that's week 3, and then week 4 is embody, because this is all about the embodiment journey. And some people are like, does embodiment mean? So, which I totally understand, but it's really just about coming into the body. So week 4 is where we really embody all that we've, felt and let the journey forward be moving from a different place, a more embodied place with more presence and more pelvic bowl reassociation, because I've never yet worked with a woman where she hasn't been disassociated from the pelvic bowl. We all are, of course we are. We're up here and it's down there, and we've this, we've been shamed around our cycles for so long, and it's just a problem, and we just have to manage our way through it and don't talk about it, and it's dirty and all that awful stuff that we've carried for so long. So to drop into the pelvic bowl is really important, to have that reassociation. That it's wondrous, because you're like, wow, all this is here. And some women will actually feel their pelvic bowl, be it their womb, be it their ovaries. They're all different. We drop into the consciousness of eating. And consciousness, I just mean, like, does your left ovary feel different to your right ovary? And every women is like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, let's just go there. And they always feel different. So it's just about feeling that. And then the more you feel it, the more you get this kind of intuitive sense. So that's the 4 weeks. And I've been really, I really focus on keeping it short. Every day is short, because it has to splice in your day. It has to. So yeah, it's a beautiful container with other women that you will feel that support to do this very differently. And we never shy from symptoms. We're straight on with the symptoms, because it's energy. All symptoms are energy. So we meet that straight on. And often, as soon as you even make the decision to do this, so you say, okay, I'll do this. Sure, I'll buy the course and we'll see. You can't believe how many times I hear, like, women write to me, go, I haven't even started the bloody thing, and already I feel different. And it's because your body knows that you're going to do this now. That's all it wants you to do, is listen to it, drop into it, trust it, believe in it. Don't believe the shite that you're in decline and that this is an evolutionary glitch. Women are living longer. Bollocks. Yes, we're living longer. There's been post-menopausal women for thousands of years. This is not a mistake. This is an important transformation. Yes, it's difficult in the society that we're in, but you have so much power, and all we got to do is drop into it. So that's the invitation of Firestarter. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful to do it with other women, because women need other women to do this.
Sounds like a fabulous resource. Do you need to be of a certain age?
Well, I always say that, the way we divide up perimenopause, and it really, now there's a new postmenopause thing. Like, what the fuck is that? Really annoys me that that there is this division. So do you need to be of a certain age? No, you don't need to be of a certain age. You need to be of a certain stage. So all this division of perimenopause, menopause, now postmenopause is utter bollocks. It's one journey, one unfolding. Of course, different things happen at different times, but it's one journey. So if you are feeling that because it's not just a shift in hormones, it's a shift in consciousness. So if you're feeling that your consciousness is shifting, now you want to be careful that's not your algorithm. That's like fear inducing you. You want to be feeling that, there's there's something going on here. And it could be like, I'm more ratty, I'm more irritable, can't stand my partner, don't want to have sex, everybody's really annoying. That is probably all true, and it's probably your body calling you to just a different way of being. So no, as long as you're feeling that call, then jump on in. And in a way, it's good to get ahead of it, so that, because it's a little bit like, I really feel like it's like you're on a boat, and it doesn't need a massive, it just needs a little shift, and then you'll experience this whole unfolding very differently. It's about befriending the body. It's about perceiving the energy that is symptoms in a way that is more friendly. So you're not bracing against them, because that's what we're conditioned to do, brace against symptoms.
Mm.
That you're saying, okay, body, what you trying to tell me here? It's really annoying me, but come on, let's do this. And then you'll find that within those symptoms, it's not just like a hammer. There's nuance, there's intricate information. There's so I often say they become like more interesting, more nuanced, often very difficult dance partners. That's
Mm.
how they. So experiencing them as that will utterly change your experience.
But even for women who feel like they're almost through it, or for women that are on HRT asking for a friend, it sounds like, but it sounds
Yeah,
like it's a really interesting
yeah, yeah,
journey of,
yeah,
I suppose, opening up your areas of wisdom to understand your whole body and what's
yeah,
going on. So it
yeah.
sounds like it doesn't really matter where you are in
No.
that journey.
Yeah, no, often. I mean, I've had women who are well through it, but they didn't experience it as the positive
Yes.
transformation that it has
Yeah.
been. So it's never too late. You can still feel it as that. And on a HRT, absolutely, because like I was saying, I kind of do think HRT is a little bit like stabilizers, and those stabilizers may be necessary, absolutely. But perhaps you don't want to stay on those forever, or perhaps you're just curious about what's possible. So a lot of women I work with will, dabble with gently coming off it if they, but there's no shoulds. Everybody has to do, well, every woman has to do it their own way. There are zero shoulds. But just to have the confidence to make a decision from an empowered, embodied perspective rather than a fear-based perspective.
And that's it really with any program. It's if you really feel called to it, and that's the thing that people often think, oh, maybe it's not for me or what, but it doesn't matter. If you feel called to it, well, they can have a conversation with you, I'm sure. But Sinead, we are running out of time. So if there was one piece of advice that you could give women of what maybe daily ritual, or is there one little thing, that easy thing that might make a difference?
So if it's to be easy, I would say the plants should be involved. My favorite practice is to drop into the pelvic bowl, but that's not easy really when you're just getting started. Plus, it could be that you're holding a lot there. So I like women to do that with support. If we're going to keep it easy, let the plants be involved, and because you just feel their support. So I would say, use oils every day. Listen to them, let your intuition guide you to what's right for you, apply it, feel it. One breath, one fragrant breath will completely believe in the power of of smell and your own intuition, because intuition and smell are pretty indivisible. It's kind of the same thing. So believe in that power of your body, power of your own intuition, and get an oil on you every day, and just have that moment. One fragrant breath can utterly transform how you feel, which is humbling and beautiful and easy. So that's what I would say to women.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you.
And all of Sinead's details will be linked, details of her programs and her oils. You'll get all the links below in the show notes. So
Thank you.
thanks for tuning in. And yeah, we wish you the best of luck for the future.
Thank you so much.
So I hope you found that episode as stimulating and interesting as I did. And make sure that you check out all Sinead's offerings, especially for me, her oils. I have used them for years. And as she said, all natural. And I'm very excited about using them as shower oil. So all the links are below. And as always, please follow the podcast if you're not already doing so, and share it. It really helps us to grow and get the message out to raise the vibration together. Have a great inner day.